Hello and good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is your captain speaking, and welcome to We Educate Racing. In this video, we're going to go over how to tune your differentials part 2 in Forza Horizon 5. Obviously, the previous video we mentioned that we tuned for rear-wheel drive cars, and that in this video we're going to tune for front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, 4x4, drag, and drift. Okay, so with that being said, it's lights out and away we go. Let's get to our front-wheel drive car right quick. This is the first car I learned how to drive manual transmission in, and I believe I was like 11 years old or 12, driving at the parking lot at the park. Yeah, good times. All right. So obviously, in a rear-wheel drive car, the rear wheels push the car forward, where front-wheel drive cars pull the car forward. Okay, so because of that, the influence of the drive system is different in terms of entering and exiting the corner. Because on exit, the weight is shifted to the rear outside tire. Okay, so if we're turning left, all the weight is going to the rear right tire. Okay, so when you tune your front wheel drive car, you have to make it so that the front wheels stay down. So you have to like raise the rear, you have to get rear anti-roll bars, and you have to stiffen it to make the front stay, and you have to influence the dampers so that it keeps the nose down, etc. A lot of things to make it so that the drive stays at the front. Okay, so because we're doing that, because our mechanical grip is set to keep the nose down, we can have your front acceleration sensitivity higher at 40, meaning you're pretty much using just the outside wheel to drive the car forward. And because most of the weight is on that side anyway, it's and it that front outside wheel is not overloaded, right? We have the rear wheels set so that they swing out. The rear end of our car is tuned so that it will swing out. So we don't have to worry about the rear end understeering. So that the drive will continue with the outside wheel according to this. So unfortunately, you can't just tune your differentials and everything is going to be okay. You have to tune the front wheel drive car a specific way. Unfortunately, that's just how physics works. Okay. But I'm going to make another video about how to tune for front wheel drive cars. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you just hit the subscribe button. And then, likes, thumbs up if you guys like the content and all of that. I sincerely appreciate it. Sincerely appreciate it. Big shout out to that guy who dropped a comment in the previous videos. Big love, bro. That was really cool. Okay. For deceleration, it doesn't necessarily matter because in order to make the corner, we need the rear end to swing out. So all the front is doing, according to this, is stabilizing it. But at the same time, we're also turning in, which also increases the rate at which tire is rotating. Right, the tire that's rotating outside is turning quicker than the inside. Okay, so the higher we set this, the quicker the front tires will lock off throttle, which will make us understeer when we lift off the throttle, which is not good, obviously. So setting it to 10, even maybe like 1, and yeah, you're good to go. You don't need deceleration sensitivity for the front. We've tuned this car, to have a certain set of front understeer. Okay, so we don't have to worry about any more stability coming from the front differential. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is how I would set all of my front wheel drive cars. If I have a, excuse me, if my front wheel drive car has a lot of horsepower, like maybe B800 or maybe even S1. I don't know if you can even get front wheel drive that high. Then you might need to set this a little bit lower because the strength of this might be too much to would be too much so that it would break traction. And when it breaks traction, it locks both front wheels. And if you can feel the lock, the front wheels locking, then all you need to do is turn in sharper, and it will correct itself. But again, you have to drive front wheel drive cars a different way. They're different compared to rear wheel drive cars. That's just from my experience anyway. I prefer mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars, so and front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive cars, so I could like drift around and stuff. I like sliding around. Front-wheel drive isn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I still like driving them, right? So yeah, that's that. Moving on to all-wheel drive. Let's go with the Subaru 22B, my favorite all-wheel drive. I don't know. I like the two-door thing. Yeah. Um, for this car, okay. So it was good that we mentioned rear wheels and front wheels. Now we get to talk about it, but working in tandem, right? Now, before you set your differentials, you need to establish how much of the front and rear you want to influence. I believe this is specifically rear. So when I set 30%, that's only talking about the rear. Okay, so yeah, just keep that in mind. I thought it works. I thought this would mean I want it more in the front, but like 30% in the front, that doesn't mean that. It's talking about just the rear. So yeah, 60% to the rear. Okay. Once you've established that, then you can sort these out. Now, between the two, front and rear, when accelerating, you almost always want the front to lock before the rear. That way, if the rear decides to lock, the nose is going to pull the car forward, preventing the rear wheels from locking. Okay? I mean, if they lock, you forced it to lock. Otherwise, when you accelerate as hard as you naturally would, the fronts would lock first. And when they lock, they end up pulling the nose. When they pull the nose, the rear won't have time to respond to lock the wheels, so they will just turn naturally, accelerate naturally, because the front wheels is locking first. Okay, this is a little, if you ask me, this is a little bit more on the balanced side. If you go say 20, then you're gonna experience a little bit of understeer. Like the nose is going to pull, and it's going to feel like a front wheel drive car. Okay, it's going to understeer. If you go higher, then it's going to feel like a rear wheel drive car. It's going to lock quicker. When you accelerate like you normally would, the rear will lock quicker, making the rear end swing out, like enter a drift on acceleration. And yeah, so the higher you increase this, the more sensitive the rear becomes compared to the front, making the rear wheels slip. When it slips, it pulls the nose forward, so it kind of like stabilizes the drift, making entering the all-wheel drift, which is like a ton of fun. But that's like more for advanced driving, and we can put that in a different video. But I would recommend starting at 30, and that when you accelerate, if everything is good, then you're good here. If you accelerate and the rear end swings out, then you just lower this. If you accelerate and it still understeers, then just accelerate, increase this. Easy. Now, for deceleration, it's the same thing with like the front. When you don't need to stabilize the front like you would, because the rear end is rotating naturally. Plus, if you increase this value and you decelerate, you could lock the fronts, so not good. So yeah, 10 there and then 30 here. And then for me, I would set mine to 60 because I like a drifty all-wheel drive car. When I step on the throttle, the rear wheel will brake first. When the rear wheels brake, then the rear wheels lock, but the fronts aren't locking, so like they still have drive, so it's pulling the car forward, canceling out the drift technically. But because the rear wheels are sliding, you are locked. Because the rear wheels are locked, you're still drifting. It's so much fun. But that's personal preference, right? So start at 30 and work your way up if you want more drifty, or if it's too drifty, then go down. All right. Next is all-wheel drive 4x4. Okay. The game doesn't feature an actual 4x4 setting, but what you could do is lock your differentials 100 100 and set your drive, the center balance, to 50-50. This gives you 4x4, where it doesn't matter if there's a wheel off the ground or if it's on ice or whatever. All the drive of the engine is going to be sent across all four wheels evenly, which is a ton of fun if you're like on the sand dunes, or going 4x4 in the jungle, over the waters, over rocks, over, man, everything, climbing the mountain. Like, man, this is it. It's a lot of fun. I recommend getting a nice big truck, put the biggest tires, lock your diffs, and then go up the mountain. So much fun. But it only works if you're off-road. If you put this on the street, then it's going to be very difficult to drive. You're welcome to try it, but I guarantee you're not going to have fun. Unless that's what you intend. I mean, you're going to be doing donuts all day, which will be a lot of fun. But then when you're done, set it back to however way you would set your all-wheel drive setting to. How did we set it? Oh, no. That was, that's a different car. Okay. Okay. For drift cars, right, as mentioned in the previous video, I believe I mentioned it. I don't remember. And because I purchased the Ultimate, they gave us free drift cars, and I'm gonna go with the Supra because of all of them, I like this livery the best, and that's the only reason why I chose this car. Otherwise, if I were to pick a drift car, I want the is it the Greddy Skyline, the rear-wheel drive Skyline from like back in the day? I want that one, or that red S15 with the red and yellow rims. Man, all right, drift cars. For beginners, set yours to 80-100. See, the thing is, when you lift off the throttle, the rear is supposed to lock. It's supposed to lock. So that when you drift, as soon as you lift off the throttle, the car will enter the drift. It's really fun. But then when you accelerate, you don't want the throttle to lock necessarily too much just yet, especially if you're new. You kind of want to play with the throttle a little bit to learn how to push the car forward in a drift. But as you get advanced, then obviously you want to work your way to 100. Okay. Professional drifters, they weld their diffs. I've seen it. It's like, holy cow. It looks like somebody messed up, but they did it on purpose. It looks like somebody would try to do a prank on someone because it's like a mess. It's not like a professional weld technique or anything. Nah, they just like melted the entire thing. It's crazy. Look at welded diffs on Google. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah, that's for drifting. Now, for drift cars, I do not have drag cars. I do not have a drag car per se. I did do the event to get me the Jesco, which I'm glad, because I was working up to get the money for that, and I was not gonna spend a thing on that, because I mean 3 million, I think is how much it was. Yeah, 3 million is not a lot, so. But yeah, I didn't know that you could get it as an award. Very nice. Anyway, differentials don't work on all-wheel drive cars. Reason is because you're going in a straight line. Differentials only work when you're cornering, corner entry and corner exit. Once both wheels are rotating evenly, like in a straight line, then limited slip differentials don't work. So yeah, you technically don't need it. You can either set it to 1% or you can set it to 100%. It won't make a difference. So it's totally up to you. However, if you decide to turn, like to turn around, then having it set to 100 will probably spin you out. So I would set yours maybe to look something like this. I noticed that the further back my balance was, the better my acceleration was also. So maybe play between 60 and 70 for your balance if you have an all-wheel drag car, which I wouldn't know why you would use rear-wheel drive for drag. I mean, I would just think that you would just peel out the whole time. I don't know. I could be wrong, unless you have traction control on, but that defeats the point of a differential. But yeah, um, yeah, I would set yours like this. If you're just drag racing and then you turn around and you want the car to behave like so, cool. By the way, I will have the code for these cars that I'm set showing, so that you guys could also have it and feel how I tuned mine, and then that way you can compare it to yours and or match mine. Yeah, it's all the same. So okay, guys, thank you so much for watching this far. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because the next video I plan on teaching you guys how to drift. So yeah, if you guys are interested, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you guys learned furthermore with the differentials. Hopefully you guys know how to tune it now. It's actually very easy, and you can carry it across all the cars as long as the drive line is correct, right? Your front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, etc. Okay, guys, yeah, wishing you guys a good one. Until the next time, bye bye.